Hey, good evening, everybody. Good Wednesday evening. This is Rick McCain along with my baby, my girl, my boo here on Soar Radio. Yes, we've been gone for a minute, but we're coming back to do our last show is going to be today. We're going to be trying some new things that be happening. You'll be hearing about that soon. But we wanted to get back on here for the last week of May, and kind of just, talk about some things and reminisce and play some music. But this will be our last show here on Soar Radio as we try to tap into some different genres and different sites and, places where people go at and try to, do a fast food, conversations with people because most of the times the attention spans are, with Instagram and TikTok and things like that. People just, flipping past and they don't want to really spend a long time looking at somebody. I mean, as beautiful as Brenda is, I don't know how anyone would not want to sit there and look at her for 2 hours. I can understand for me, but just, I could look at her for over 30 years and a half.
Oh, look at him.
But it's just the way of the world now, and so we're trying to catch up with that world and do some things. So I'm going to do some great things that's going to happen. I know I'm just talking and mumbling. Baby, what you got to say? What's going on?
If we're still talking about this change,
Yeah,
I'm
we're still talking
excited about it. Okay. I am. I'm excited about the change because I look at how fast-paced the world is right now. And it's sort of like the microwave, you nuking information. So we're going to nuke you guys some nuggets of inspiration. And it's going to be fun, dog. It's like get it in and get out. You don't have to marinate and set on it. And as I was, since we decided to do this, I'm paying attention to different things I'm seeing on social media. And I'm like, it goes quick, fast, but it's everlasting to me. They said something that resonated with me, that make me look forward to the next time I see whomever putting something out there on social media or whatever reel they doing. It catches my attention. And that's what we want to bring to you guys, a broader, a bigger audience, something that you could marinate on and say that McCain train tripping and you'll join us and look forward, to riding that train with us.
Yeah, I mean, and it has nothing to do with the incredible place that we are at now, Soar Radio, who has given us the opportunity for at least about a good 8-9 years. I don't know, 7, 8, 9 years. One of those years.
About now, but we've been here.
That has been able to allow us to, broadcast for that long of time. It's just that, radio, being on the radio for a long time and hours, a couple of hours. It's just, people are not there anymore. I mean, you remember the days of the super jocks, and you had to pay Tom Joyner, you had Doug Banks, and Simonsky Love, Steve Harvey. Steve Harvey might be still out there a little bit. One of the last dinosaurs of the super jocks that are out there. You had so many great names out there. I'm gonna say something that most people, African Americans, should remember. Larry Lujack. That was he was the first person on WGCI.
I got one for you. My girl, Bonnie Deshawn.
Bonnie Deshawn.
Love her.
We still see her a lot of times.
At the theater.
But I mean, things have changed. So it has nothing to do with the incredible place here at Soar Radio that has some amazing shows on there. Amazing producer that helps with producing the show, Rockford Goat, Kenny Crawford.
Okay.
Amazing songs. Justin Francis, who is the owner with his wife with Soar Radio, and then Soar Awards is doing such an excellent job with that. But it's just, we're trying to change it, and I want to get more closer to the things that God is calling us to do. So we're going to be doing some different things like, Rick and Brenda and relationship letters. And so we're going to be talking about that. We're going to do one of those today. But we're going to talk more about relations and marriage. That was the purpose of the show that I'm trying to get back to. But get it into small snippets. And it sounds like it might be easy, but it's not, because you got to unpack that information to a point where you're saying something within a minute or two, or maybe 3 minutes, and it reaches somebody and like, oh, I like that, and they'll come back, and that takes preparation, getting wisdom from other people to help with showing you how this can be done, and editing and making sure things are right. And so it's gonna take a minute to kind of like, you got the premise together what you want to do, but now you got to put a blueprint on how that's going to be done. Boom, boom, boom. And even though it may seem like I do a lot of talking, it's going to be hard to get Betty Shabazz to kind of like just focus on something without going
In a short period of time, I could do that. I'm gonna tell you something.
We're gonna see. We're gonna
see. What I have learned during our little hiatus time, consensus has spoken. People really grab what you say in 15 minutes. We did a 2-hour show. People come in and hear what they want to hear. If we were still putting stuff out, topics and stuff, okay, I could catch it at this time. They'll be laser focused to what we have to say. But they were saying, as I was reading, 15 minutes. So that was a whole hour and 45 minutes that we could have did without.
Yeah.
You hit the bullet points. Boom, 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 boom. And that's what I'm so excited about, because we could do that in a short amount of time and give them a piece of the McCain train to cook them, and they come back.
And 15 minutes was 15 minutes ago, which basically saying that's old. It's even shorter than that now. If you have something that's more than 5 minutes, people are not you really lose them. I mean, unless somebody's doing some great singing or a funny joke or something like that. And sometimes if it takes too long to get there, you can hear somebody singing like, I don't like this, or doing something. I'm seeing these things out there now that's kind of caught my attention. When people are doing their own boombox thing, doing stuff like that, and I'm like, man, it's interesting how they're doing that, but it's only something like about 2, 3, 4 minutes at tops. And then they're doing another video. They may be doing it for like 20 minutes, but they're stretching it out and breaking it down and doing clips. So you're trying to catch that fast food audience that wants to get to everything that they can. They want to get to Instagram and see like 100 things out there because they don't want to miss anything. And so trying to get them to stay for something, even if it's good, if it's too long, you can lose them. And, we're trying to, put the gospel in their hands, about relationships in a way that, it will resonate with them to want to come back. And getting that all together, it's going to, really put some manpower in there. And I'm, glad to have some people with me that I know that is going to help with that process as well. And so it's going to be, fun. But Let's Stay Together talk. I think that started about,
11 years ago.
11 years ago. So what's that? This is 26, so it started 2011.
It's 25.
Didn't it start in 2011? 11 years ago would be 2014.
You said 26. I'm saying this is 2025.
I know. Okay, but stay with me. That's one of the good things about the 5 minutes is that she won't have any time to correct me. But so I think we started this about 2014, maybe. It started out, for those of you all don't know, of course, this is Rick McCain and Brenda McCain, Reverend McCain, Rick McCain. Rick McCain is fine. And my beautiful wife of 30, going on 31 years, Brenda McCain. We started this off in 2014. And at that time, both of us were unemployed. We were going through a situation where we were unemployed and didn't know how things were going to be paid, how the rent was going to be paid. And we was driving back from your sister's house in Bloomington. And I had told you about a vision God had given me for doing for radio. And you was listening, but I don't think you really got into it. You're like, radio. How that's gonna pay the bill? You were there, but it's like I don't know, and it was just something that as we were driving, you know, it was something that God gave me, and we've always been real on our show. At that time, is it wasn't I had worked enough that I'd get unemployment, so I was able to pay some things, but it wasn't a steady job, and I was about to get a job, that I would have for the next 13 years. But we'll talk about that. But at that time, it was just something that God had given me, and it was just so many ideas, and we were putting things together in the car. You remember that?
I do, and I remember I was totally against that because I said, God haven't talked to me. But as a goal, God don't have to talk to me. Talk to the person who you wanted to spearhead this new adventure in our lives. But I had to get on board with it. And when he was talking about it, I'm like, I'm not feeling this.
Yeah,
that was just it. I wasn't feeling it.
That supportive wife, stand by your man wife. I ain't feeling this. Nope.
No.
And what I did was I prayed, to God that He would, open her eyes to it, and it took a little bit, and we were driving down the street. I could still remember the street that we was driving at, and where we actually pulled over. I could actually go there if we was driving, but I don't really necessarily know where it's at as far as what city or suburb it's in, but. All of a sudden, you got an epiphany and you start crying. You want to tell that story?
No, they don't need to know I was crying.
Okay, it's okay. You're only human.
No, God has spoken to me and let me see Rick's vision of what was going to happen with the radio show and how we could save souls and bring souls to Christ. And at that point, only thing I wanted to be was just that minister's wife and work in the marriage ministry. And when I played it back in my head, I said, God done laid everything out for us. You just need the people to go forth and just have the faith to do it. Because we stepped out on faith. We really did. Yeah. And from that, we then been to, this is our third radio station. Yeah. I mean, it happens. You go through changes. People don't stay at the same station no more. But I think we did pretty good in 11 years. And I look back over places we went, people we interviewed, things we done, the fun we had, even with Tracy, that era for 6-7 years was beautiful. Had so much fun from the beginning up until COVID. I mean, she did not literally miss a day unless it was her father's death, her mother's death, and it was somebody else. She was,
you're going way ahead on this.
No, I'm just saying that was part of us because from the beginning she came in and we was just making plans of what we're gonna do. And I'm talking about me and you now, since this our last show, we could just break this stuff down.
Yeah, but I didn't want you to go that far just yet because I wanted to stop for a second because you said you wasn't feeling it. You just wanted to be a minister's wife. If we step back back further, you didn't even want to be a minister's wife.
No, I did. I did not.
It's like I don't know if I want to be married to no minister.
Because I figure you have your structure, and I'm like, that ain't gonna be me. I'm gonna be me, and everybody know that's what I love about our audience. What were you? New King James Version?
Yeah.
And I'm what, NIV version?
Yeah. New International. I'm King James and you New International.
And I'm NIV, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I said. I love that because we work good with each other, but we totally polar opposite. And that shows on the radio. Yeah. And that's what made us so... I think we resonated with so many people, and we had nice listeners during our time.
Yeah, I mean, you were not subordinate. You was... difficult.
Still is, but that's me.
And in every situation, didn't want to be a minister's wife. Didn't want to do the radio show. You didn't want to even do the play. So I don't.
Nope.
I don't know how. I mean, just things kind of just changed a little. But it became fun because you would hear. I mean, let me just say this. We joke about it, but So, when somebody else has a vision, it's not necessarily that you're going to see it and jump on board, because it's the vision that God has given them. And so it's like, well, you're the wife, you should have jumped on the vision. No, I mean, this is the vision that God has given. And so that person may not see it. It wasn't like Brenda was being, mean or difficult. She just didn't see it, and didn't, think that it would be something, that she would want to do. And so it was a vision that God had given me, and that once God had given to me and I accepted and was obedient to it, it was up to him to bring her along to see the vision. And so it's not like we're going to have a fight like, this is God's vision and you're not going to stand by me. What kind of wife are you? I could have, you could do all that stuff like that. It was just me saying, hey, God, this is the vision you gave me. Let her see it as well. And so, you would see that, even when the marriage ministry was doing, marriage, counseling and talking to people, it was something that, God had, put in her the spirit to be willing to, accept that vision and follow. And so to married couples around there, if there's a vision that God gives your husband, if there's a vision that God gives your wife, don't fight about it because that person doesn't see it right away or doesn't join you right away. Go into prayer, trust in the Lord, have faith in God, and understand that God will open the doors and put people in places that he wants you to put there. I mean, when we even started the radio show, I knew Curtis Green. It's the AC Green show here in Chicago. I came to him and, hey, we was ready to start right away, the next couple of weeks, because, God had opened the door and stuff like that. But, Brenda said, hey, let's slow down and get some things together, which was, right. Because I was gung-ho to jump into it, but we wanted to get things together and put a blueprint together to find some things that we needed to do. So we went around the neighborhood talking to people, asking questions, went all around the suburbs out here talking to different people, white, black, Latino, whoever. We were talking to everybody we can find.
And see, what did they want to hear
on the radio? And so
topics.
Topics and stuff like that. And so we had a good time going to different places and talking to people. But it's allowing God to open the doors for the vision he's given you.
I want to do a quick shout out. And she not going to like this. But I'm going to say, CT, I see you and thank you for hopping in tonight. That's all I'm going to say. And see you tomorrow.
And it's just, the things you're doing is so important that you find a way to allow God to move what I would call move the mountains that may be in your way. Because if God is giving you a vision to do something, he will make a way for that vision to happen because his name is attached to it. He gave it to you. All you have to do is be obedient and follow it. And another thing that I think a lot of people don't understand is that the vision that God gave me was never basically to gain money from it. It was just a ministry to share with people about the joys of marriage, the trials and tribulations, some of the pitfalls. I mean, we've got sponsors to help us out with the show, but it was, I would love to get this to a point where, I can just do this as my main job, but that never transpired. But the vision was always there to share truthfully about marriage and be honest, and that's why did I get married and making marriage work. We talked about things honestly. We shared about some of the struggles that we had, the difficulties we had in our marriage, and people was able to resonate that because it made us feel real. We wasn't trying to be some
judgmental
or a couple saying, "Oh, our relationship is blessed and highly favored." No, we went through some trials and tribulations.
I do want to say something.
Go
about
say
that.
it if you do.
I'm going to say something about that. That is something I know. Loathe is a strong word, but that is something that always aggravated me with couples. I always ask God for a discernment heart. And when we used to do counseling, it was other couples in marriage ministry that I used to look at. We don't have this problem. We never go through this. And of course, some of us knew the backstories of so many couples and stuff that we was around. And it's like, why pretend? People are not going to receive you. I'm not saying you have to bash and tell everything that you and your spouse is doing, but keep it real. And that's always been my thing as far as counseling and talking to people. It's like, I'm not going to sugarcoat this and say, our marriage has been perfect for 31 years. It has not been perfect for 31 years, but this is my rock, my husband. I love him. I'm his boo, his girl, his sweet thing, whatever you want to call it. You could see, especially our producer, he know we batter and go at each other, but the love is real. And I want people in radio, they always used to say, well, people can't see you. Yeah, they can. Since the internet and every social media, it's like whether I'm frowning or scowling or whatever, our message is put there for you to understand not just marriage things, but we came as a radio show to give you pertinent information for you could, take that and run with it. Because one thing I did love about and still do with our show, we always had some outstanding guests
we did.
on our show that we felt as though, hey, we like them. Let's share them with our followers, our listeners and stuff.
Yeah.
And one thing I never forget was Maureen, my little African princess. She said, I listen to your show. I might not say anything, Mammy Renee, might not comment, you might not ever hear me call in or anything, but she could play by play what we was talking about. And that's what I said. I take that anytime.
Yeah, and I think the thing about it is just the realness of the relationship. I mean, because if you've listened to our show at any time, Brenda said, the 31 years, it wasn't like, peaches and creams. We had some trials and tribulations. With a person that may not have the same kind of thought process. I'm not saying a godly thought process, but you have not have the same thought process.
We had different views.
Yeah,
and that's
and
okay.
we still do. But I think the thing about it is that it was a struggle at the beginning, and I think a lot of young couples should understand that you are now trying to join two people as one and try to commingle how you live together with each other, and in some cases you haven't even figured out how to live by yourself. I mean, for instance, for Brenda, she never lived by herself. She went from my mama's house to the house that we're in now. I had the opportunity to go out and move and do things like that. Not to say that one is better than the other, but do you have the same opportunity? I mean, if I would have went from house to married, it wouldn't have bothered me that much because, I was that kind of a person anyway. Just to knew that, I'm in the ministry now. I got to get married. I got to do this. It was just something, a step forward for me to do.
You saying that made me think about probably 2 weeks ago, someone said this young lady named off about 8 or 9 residencies. And I'm like, dang, you moved a lot. I'm thinking, probably in her college days or, whatever. Mm-hmm. And she said, no. I said, military, I'm just giving her an excuse or whatever. She said, no. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to leave that alone. But I'm like, we the same age. You moved that many times? And when I said, she said, well, haven't you, about 5 or 6? I said, 2. And she was like, 2? And I said, yeah, it's not a good thing, not putting nobody else down. But I said, even though it's 3 times, but I was under 4 with the first move. I don't know nothing about that. But 2 addresses. And I said, I'm not making you feel bad about yours. Don't make me feel bad about mine. The different things of how people see things differently is what I'm saying.
Yeah. And I mean, it doesn't really matter in that aspect of that, but you have to be able to, have a strong biblical base behind you.
Yeah.
And that's what basically helped us. It's not because, Reverend McCain is some, outstanding, wonderful person, that everybody should want to have. I mean, Brenda had her difficulties dealing with me as much as I did with her because we had to learn each other. But we had the love and a biblical base and trusting in God for what he had, joined together, that we wasn't going to, break up. And so through those struggling periods of our time, the love is what kept us going and allowed us to be able to, to work with things. And it took, a lot, because there was a lot of times I'd be talking with Brenda about some things and she didn't want to listen to me at all. And I can still remember sometimes I'd be arguing with God. I'm like, God, she's not going to pay any attention to me. Why are you going to, you know exactly what she's going to do. She's going to sit there and then she's going to shoot and she's going to knock me down and blah, blah. And he said, no, go and talk to her. And I do that and blah, 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 blah. And then she get that, then jump on me, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, this is a waste of time, God. Why do you keep on having me do this, this is not working. I'm tired of this. This is not what I was looking for. And she was, saying, I don't know why he keeps on coming to me this way. This is not what I'm looking for. This is not. Blah, blah, blah. But it was just having that biblical base of just trusting the Lord that whatever would be done, we had to have faith in God that the direction we was going, though it may seem like it was a dark pit, there was always the light of God at the end of the tunnel that's going to say, hey, it's not going to be easy for you. But if you have faith, you'll make it through. And I think, we would say, no weapon formed against me shall prosper. Hey! But it doesn't mean that the weapons won't come. And even in your marriage, you sometimes can bring in your own weapons that can cause problems, but you have to have that biblical trust in God, that biblical foundation to move forward, because you have something that really sustains you, God's word and your love.
Yeah. I'm going to say something. It might sound backward, but I want you really to listen to it. I've been in church longer than Brett. I've been going to church ever since I was like 5 years old up and I'm 59. But Rick had a calling on his life to become a minister. So Rick was well adverse in the Bible. Like I said, I was going to church, not playing church, going to church. It really hit me of what God is. And when I was a teenager and college years. So as I got older, experiences in my life happened and I needed to depend on God. Rick was doing his journey as I was doing my journey. Rick is well adverse and advanced in the word. I, at an older age, was in no comparison with him. I was like a babe in Christ with him. But to other people, they looked to me because I had knowledge with the Bible, knowledge with life experiences, but we were on two different levels. And that was the problem to me, which was a good problem, because all the time I was bucking against him like, no, that's not. God was preparing me for a lot of different things in my life, because a lot of trauma happened in my life before I got with Rick that drew me closer to God. So even though I said, I ain't trying to be no minister wife, I always say, oh, God got jokes. He said, that's who I'm going to send to you, a minister, because somebody going to have to help you to advance more. And I love that, because when you was, like I said, first I thought this guy is so biblical. It is just, I hated to say it this way, a turn off, because I always thought he was judging me. But God was having him there to help me and assist me with things that I didn't have a clue about. And I thank you for that, babe. I really do, because, beforehand he dated people, I dated people. And when I look back over my life, there's only 2 men I think I dated that played church. But the one he gave me lived by the word and the Bible and God. So I thank God for that, because I went through my frogs. I'm not saying he, for people to say, oh, they think we not. But he's my perfection of what God gave me to help me. So thank you, babe.
I'm trying to figure out, how did you realize that you were in church longer than I was? Because
you told me when you started going to church, you was near teenage age.
When I came back to church, but I was in church. I was at Tracy's church.
Yeah, but see, when I'm talking about in church, really, I was without going because a girl, you just wanted to get in the choir.
Hey, God drives you in for different things. But was yours consistent?
Yeah, my man was in church every week.
Okay, I'm like, I can see. I wonder, because this is the person that go to sleep on anything we was talking about.
Couldn't do that in church. Maybe that's why, because you couldn't
do
that in church.
She's like, Jesus.
No.
Thank
I
you.
don't play with. I told you I played with God one time. I got struck. I don't do that.
I don't think you play with your mama because she'd have whooped your butt.
She sure would have.
Going to sleep and Brenda, what you doing, girl?
No, you would have got popped.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay.
Like you don't go to sleep on Jesus because you don't want Jesus to go to sleep on you.
You go.
I
You
love the
don't.
old people when they come up with some of those things. You know, what would happen if Jesus went to sleep on you?
You would be boop boop out. Like,
Hey, we're going to be talking about this pretty much throughout the session, and then we're going to do one of the relationship letters. But we're going to play some music in between this as well, and we've still got people that we're going to be talking to on Facebook and YouTube because we got a couple of stories we're going to share. So this is Kenny's Choice. He's going to be playing some music for us, and then he'll let us know when we're going to come back in. And so right now, for whatever time Kenny has placed the music together on Soar Radio, you're going to be hearing some music that Kenny is playing. And for those of you on Facebook and YouTube, we're going to get away from this conversation because we want to make sure that what we're talking about is also heard on the radio. But we got some topics here that we're going to share with you. So listen up to this music. Soar Radio listeners, we'll be right back. Okay. I thought he went to sleep on us like you.
I'm like,
Okay, babe, what you got?
Okay, Trump is at it again. It has hit, of course, retail's been hitting it, the tariffs and everything. But one of the stores that is getting hit is kind of sad. It's a flagship store, and it's Macy's. Macy's, the latest in the retail chain, has got hit, and they have said, babe, they are not laying off. Nationwide, they will be closing 150 stores by 2027 due to this tariff tax. Even though some of the stuff went down, some of the tariffs went down, it still hit hard for a lot of consumers because it's like, we're not going to spend this price for this. And according to Macy's, I think they said 20% of their merchandise come from China. And hitting with that tariff tax, it's like, okay, let's do the other 80%. So they scrambling, trying to please customers. And customers, I can't say we showing up, but we're going a different way. It's like, I love you, Macy's, but this stuff is too high. Yeah. If I didn't spend, because Macy's always had a nice little price tag. It wasn't like a Ross store or anything. You could go in there and say, oh, these jeans are cute. They're $70 for the ones to shop at Macy's. But now you spending almost twice as much for the same pair of jeans, they say. And it's like, no. People are like, we could shop elsewhere and online. So that story, Rick, I'm not sure if you're into the retail thing or how it's happening. Well, yes, we are. We into the retail. We know how
I will say this, number one. There's an article out there now that the U.S. courts have actually blocked Trump's sweeping tariffs. I just heard that on CNN earlier today. And that he's going to be blocked from the tariffs that he's trying to do that is causing so many issues with different countries. And so the U.S. Supreme Court has blocked what they call his Liberation Day tariffs that's coming through. So that's, I don't know how much that's going to affect. I know the stock at one point was going up because of the notification of that. But let me just say this. We talk about, things being made cheaper in China and other places. That basically tells you that the United States of America is greedy. Because the stuff that we get from China, there's some nice quality stuff that they're able to make for us. Most of your furniture comes from there. Most of your clothing comes from China because, by far it costs less money for the same material there than it would here. So it's basically showing you that what is causing the problem with the United States is greed. Because we were so greedy, a lot of the things went over to China because they knew they could pay less money for it. And even with it being exported back from China to the United States, it still would be less money. Now, of course, when it comes to the United States and it goes to a place like Forever 24 or
21.
21 or all these other places, they bump up the prices on there. And
Speaking of,
that's the greed as well as that happens too. But I mean, the products could be made in the United States if we wasn't so freaking greedy.
yeah, because it made me think about an article I read a couple of months ago, and then my sister read the same article and was telling me about it. And it was the designer handbags. It is crazy to me, whether I have money or not, for people to spend $4,000 on a bag, and they make it in China. And they said they didn't even make the bag for $30.
Right.
$30
And-
a designer bag, but it gets over here and boom, you gonna sell it for 2,000, 3,000, and people buying that mess. So I'm like, really?
I mean, it's always the case because even in Germany, where Mercedes Benz are made, they use those as taxis out there.
They use it as well.
As taxis. They have them as
They
taxis.
sure do.
And I'm like, and we're spending
we the
all
luxury.
this money. And in China, their cards are so small. I mean, they use it for what they want to use it for. It's to get to where they want to go to, and that's it. Chinese are not going to spend $4,000 on a bag. I mean, no, we're not spending our money. We're not going to waste that. Even the
And
stuff
if they
that we
do,
have
they know
from-
how much they really
Yeah.
spending the money, but
even
they made
the
it
stuff
for.
that we have here on the social sites, like TikTok, that's owned by China. The stuff that they have here, what most people know, they don't let you see it. It's educational there. They don't have all this other
That's
stuff,
right.
And so I mean, it's because of greed and our desire to be famous and all this stuff like that. We want the world, and then there's somebody saying, okay, well, if you're greedy enough to do it, I can make some money off of you. And I think the bad thing about it. I mean, one of the things Trump is trying to do. I'm gonna put my fingers up because you never know with him because he's now trying to make Bitcoin the next biggest thing because he has money in Bitcoins now and his family has money in Bitcoins. But the one thing about bringing things back to the United States is a great thing because now it's made in America. The problem is that we're so greedy, we charge too much to get it made here, and so therefore everything has to come from overseas. And it's we came so lazy, so greedy and lazy because we didn't want to put in all this effort to do this work. Oh, let's send it over there and let them do it. We can get it cheaper, and that's what happened. And so now China's sitting up there saying, "Hey, you gonna put a tariff on me? We make most of your stuff.
Right. That don't make sense.
You put
to
it in
me.
our hands. You were dumb enough to put it in our hands. Now you're not gonna make us pay more money
And now
to that. You just won't
we
get it.
suffer
Yeah.
because of the little games he's playing with these other countries.
And the thing about it is that the rich are not suffering. So
Right.
we're getting off subject here,
But
but
no, that's
the United States. I don't think we'll ever get to a point again where we are going to be able to be dominant in production of certain things because of our greed. We would have to be able to all come together and say we're going to reduce the price of what it costs for everything in the United States to where we can be competitive with the other world, be making the same quality product, but not try to get overly rich off of everybody. That we're going to be concerned about helping everybody.
but the country not built that way.
It's not because it's the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, and they're fine with that. And
It's gonna be rich and poor, no middle class. So, like, okay, Trump.
I remember the old movie Rich Man Poor Man.
I was just thinking about that
Yeah.
movie because I want to see that again.
Okay,
but
so
you had a story before I would talk about my part. And what was your part?
that
in the
was
story?
I saw that in there, and they were saying that Larry Hoover, the Chicago gangster from the Chicago Disciples, the gangster disciples. I'm sorry, Chicago disciples. For some reason, Trump made the decision that he was going to give him clemency. And I just saw this in here. I don't know if there's a story on it yet. I just saw it on ABC News on, I think this is Instagram. And they're saying that Chicago gangster disciple founder Larry Hoover is being granted clemency by President Trump. His attorneys confirmed to ABC 7 on Wednesday, which is today. I'm trying to see. Yeah, there is a story out there. I'm trying to see if they show how long. I mean, I don't know if people remember the Gangster Disciples. This is a '70s group that was really popular and strong back in the days. Not a part of the Black Panthers, but there's a '70s group, and he went to jail. They said he was sentenced. Hoover still faces a remaining 200-year sentence from his 1973 Chicago murder. So I knew it had been a long time he had been in jail, even though Alexa couldn't tell me what her no good said. And he's now getting clemency. They gave him a 200-year sentence, which I always think that these sentences are ridiculous. But we'll talk a bit more about that. We're going to get back to our show. We're talking about our relationship and, the transition of what we're going to be doing with our show. And then I'm hoping that the person is going to be helping me doesn't mind me mentioning his name. If he doesn't, he'll let me know. And we'll go from there. So we got about 5 seconds. We're getting back to SOAR Radio, so stay with us. All right, SOAR Radio, welcome back to Let's Stay Together Talk Show. Your host, Reverend Rick McCain, along with my baby, my girl, my boo. We're doing a somewhat like a farewell show, farewell show
Bye.
on SOAR Radio. And at the end, I'm going to do one of my favorite comedians. It's going to be what she used to say when she used to leave the air. But then we're going to go and do that later. But we've been talking about, the relationships that me and, the relationship that me and Brenda have had, married for 31 years, and what we went through in relationship, how we started off with the show. And we started off on, was it WJ? What was it?
102.3.
102.3 W something. WJCA?
I can't think of it.
I can't think of it.
102.3.
Yeah, that was with Daryl King and the Bling Bling. And, we started off with there and did a 6-month stint there and decided, that we wanted to, move on because it was too expensive. I mean, like, my God, the money they wanted, it was almost like
a mortgage.
It was a mortgage payment, And even now in Chicago area radio shows, I mean, they want you to pay a lot of money to do the radio shows there, and but then and that about that time is when internet started picking up too.
Thank God.
And so we went over to UBM over there, Urban Broadcast Network. Media, thank you. Urban Broadcast Media, and spent about maybe a year or two or something like that over there, and I mean, I loved it because it was one of the first Chicago media networks. We had a lot of people come in and out. Beautiful brownstone that they had there, building that was amazing. Met some amazing people there. Still friends with them today. I know you want to say something.
I do. When we was at 102.3, it was
WYCA.
Yeah, WYCA. Yeah. It got our feet wet in radio, so we learned how to maneuver, and we had guests there, but it was okay until we started. As I say, once our eyes been open, it's like move on now. But UBM was the catalyst of such a short amount of time that we spent there that we really felt like we was on a radio show because the place was absolutely beautiful. The studio was in a brownstone house on one of the prominent streets of Chicago, King Drive. And it was just, the whole thing, the setup was just gorgeous, beautiful. And we had so many guests that poured in from different walks of life all around the city of Chicago. I don't care if it was storming, a blizzard, they got there. And our motto was, if they could get there and they didn't cancel, we could get there. As long as our producer there, we rolling. And I mean, stories, topics we had, outings that we had, like, what was it? Let's Stay Together, Talk on the Move, LSTT on the Move or whatever. We was going to different places, interviewing people and everything. Loved it until we didn't love it.
Yeah.
And then came, boom, SOAR Radio. And it's like, I remember when you discovered who Soul Radio was, and we was at a play.
I don't want to go. You're jumping again, going
I just
way
went
ahead.
through. Okay, I didn't know we was going through sections. Let's just free fall.
I mean, you're gonna do the whole thing in like 30 seconds.
I'm getting ready.
But UBM. Okay,
you want to hang out with UBM?
Okay.
Okay.
I know it's difficult for you to follow, but follow me here for a second. UBM. Oh Jesus, I'm looking forward to those 5 minutes clips. UBM.
Whatever.
UBM. Yeah, because you like talking. And we were doing.
And I hit points.
And
come on,
like, you like.
Come on, preacher.
Slow down. UBM was fun because we did have a lot of people there. A lot of people that we met there. We still. We know to this day. So when we was with WYCA, we had a lot of people. At first, it was coming from the Salem Baptist Church. It was coming on our radio show, and then we did get a chance to meet some other different people that I was pulling in and finding on the internet and stuff like that, having them come into the show. They're one of the people that I can still remember. Pastor David Washington and a group of them. It was like a real cold day, and they still came there on the show, and it was just a blessing when they came to WYCA. UBM was great because the studio was wonderful. We got a chance to meet Lee Michaels. For those of you who don't know who he is, he was a part of WGCI and also 102.7 as well.
Yeah, he was a big wig back in that day.
Big wheel. He happened to be there at WUBM, and it's no longer there. It got defunct because it was just mismanagement. Just be honest, mismanagement caused a lot of problems with it. But we was able to bring a lot of people in there to the show, and I mean it got really big. I think the one thing that made me the maddest, and I bring this up, is that we had, I don't know if anybody ever heard of the gospel thing called PureFlix. And we had a relationship. I think the vice president of PureFlix on our show there, and he was ready to sponsor our radio show. And somehow or another, this young lady who was the owner decided he wanted to put in charge of it. They found out about PureFlix and called them without letting us know, trying to get them to sponsor the station. And the man was like, hey, I don't know what's going on, but we can't do anything like that. And he kind of backed off of, working with us.
Yeah,
we did. Backed off of working with us because he was wondering somehow or another was they trying to, we were trying to, screw them around. And it really angered me so much when that happened. And that's when I said, we've got to leave here, because I had a great relationship with, PureFlix, and they was going to sponsor the show. They wound up changing it that you had to sell some of the, the network thing and stuff like that, which didn't really work out because they were going to fully sponsor our show.
Yeah.
And it's just such of a blessing. I'm like, oh my goodness, but that kind of fell through. And we learned a lot. That like I said, we got a great relationship with some of the people who was doing radio shows there. You've seen them on our radio show as well. You've seen Walter on there. He still has his radio show.
Chris
Bass with his radio show. The young lady, I can't think of her name right now. She has her own radio show.
I forgot her name. The cancer show.
Yeah, and she does, shows there. And so we had, developed some great relationship with there. But there was too many times where they wasn't paying the bills, and they wasn't paying the producers there. We had a great producer there. I can't remember that.
I don't know why I want to call him Dwight, but it's
not.
No,
it's not. And, I mean, he did an excellent job. The greatest, producer we have is, the Rockford Goat.
But we had to get to him.
Yeah, we had to get to him. But was great. The one thing about it, we had to drive our producers home most of the time.
Right.
We didn't
have to. Well, we was nice enough, but they was nice to us.
They're late, and they're trying to get buses and stuff like that. But we had a
and they coming from a job as well, so trying to help them out.
We had a great time with that, and it was fun, with that experience, and it was just something that I wish that individual would have allowed to grow and put right people in place. They had Lee Michaels there and got rid of him, which was the stupidest thing.
Because people
ever
love
seen.
Lee Michaels.
You know, and Lee was getting too much of the credit, and so the owner got mad, and then they let him go and then put other people in positions that it didn't really work out. It caused some issues, and it was just sad because it was, you know, the media there was fun to be a part of. I mean, it was in a nice location, was easy to get to.
Yeah.
Right, not too far away from the expressway. We had, you know,
like I said,
we had different nationalities coming all over, you know, whites, Hispanic, African Americans, Africans, you know. We had Polish people in wheelchairs was coming there. We had lawyers and police officers, and we had all kinds of different people coming. We had great conversations we were talking about too.
And I love that, like Tracy was riding with us with that time, and she was into her photography, and she said, let's take pictures. You know, that's one thing I loved and learned from her. Always put people where you at, because we are visual individuals. Once they see the fun, they want that. And so remember, we used to go downstairs with the backdrop, the step and repeat, take pictures and post it. And people, I remember back in the day, people was asking to be on the show. And it's like, well, you can't just be on to take the pictures. What do you have to offer? What do you want to talk about? And it boomed. That's what I loved about that. It happened. It was nice. Even before COVID hit and stuff, we was still, when we left them, I think we was moving on to the next segment, right? We was here at the next studio, but it was different because when COVID hit, we lost our Tracy.
Yeah, I mean,
we couldn't have guests.
Yeah, we couldn't have guests, and that kind of, you know, got us to lose Tracy and stuff like that because COVID was around for a while,
and it hit her family hard.
And you know, and so we, you know, it's a total different change. And you know, for this hour, we're going to talk about the history of our show, and then we're going to talk about relationship stuff on the next hour or something like that. But when you get to where we are now with SOAR Radio, just the time of sharing with them, and I might spend a bit more time on that than 7 minutes, but. We got a chance. I just happened to be looking, you know, for different places to go to and stuff like that. And there was a guy who went to another radio station, internet radio station here, that he wanted me to be a part of that. And I'm like, I don't know, you know, let me, you know, check some things out. And I just happened to see SOAR Radio. I'm like, what is SOAR Radio? And then I happened to see, you know, it was online. I was listening to it. I'm like, I like this, you know. And I don't know if I heard Justin doing a show or not, but I told you about, you know, hey, I got in contact with him, I guess, on an email or something like that. And we decided to, you know, get together to go to SOAR Radio and meet with them. And we rode out there to Rockford, and it was so funny.
But wait, before we get there.
What?
Because we're theater critics, we was at Shakespeare Theater seeing Magascar. What's the name of that play? Magascar or something. It was a children's play.
Okay.
We was there, and I remember you told me that morning, dress comfortable, because we're going to go review this play, because you promised to do it, and we're going to drive out to Rockford. I'm like, Rockford? Where's this thing again? And so pick it up from there.
I don't remember actually going to see a play that day. I just remember us going, that we were going out to Rockford. And the thing that I remember the most is that we stopped at this little burger place, and there was a tornado that was coming that day. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, and you could just see the clouds coming. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to come to this place. And all of a sudden a tornado comes and tears up the car. You know, we had a little Mercedes back then, and it was, you know, I'm like, oh my goodness, we
stuck in rock.
We got, you know, figuring out how it's gonna happen, and then, you know, it really got bad. It started raining real heavy, but no tornado ever came, and it subsided before we, you know, had to go meet Justin and Kenny, because typically every place I go, I like to be early, so we were there probably about 2 hours early. We got something to eat, relaxed a little, and then we went to go meet them. And I can still remember, you know, going there, and I'm like, what is this place?
I remember the look on my face.
I mean, it's almost like an instant connection. You know. Kenny was a little dry at the beginning. You know, he
To
was,
be honest, I don't even really remember Kenneth being there.
oh, he was there because he was
Kenneth,
showing
you
us
were
the
there?
board. You know, he was showing us the board and stuff
You
like that.
know. But I don't remember him.
Kenny's
being
not
there.
listening to the show. He's doing something else.
He's doing something else. But yeah, remember talking to Jason, but I remember someone else. It wasn't Kenny.
You know, Justin.
I remember talking to him.
You said Jason.
Oh, Justin.
Yeah,
Okay.
Justin. I remember talking to him. I think, if I'm not mistaken, was Kenny there first and then Justin came in? I'm not sure, but I do remember talking to them. And I saw, the setup and stuff that they had. And I'm like, wow, this is, how it's set up was really nice. I'm like, oh, wow. And, as Kenny was showing me the board and stuff like that, because I was sitting up there saying to myself, I had to learn this because everywhere else we were at, somebody was doing the board. Mm-hmm. And so now COVID comes in, it changes everything. And now you've got to set up a board and you have to know how to do this. Mm-hmm. And, Kenny was showing me certain things like that. And I'm like, okay, and, he came out here and he set everything up for us and stuff like that, which is so nice. I mean, it was just, everything just ran so smoothly that it was just nice to be a part of that. And then they, the SOAR Awards were there. And it was just an amazing opportunity to be with such of a, professional radio station where the young, you're dealing with a young man. Justin is younger than us. It's almost like he could be like a son,
Yeah.
and how he, had a vision on what he wanted to do, and it was just, really nice. And I'm like, wow, this is nice, SOAR Radio. And then with SOAR Awards, it's like, wow, we got all these superstars that we're going to be, seeing and maybe, getting a chance to talk to, which we did, I think one or twice when we was there. Mm-hmm. 1 year, the SOAR Awards, of course, COVID too got knocked out. But it was just, a blessing to be a part of that. And I guess the greatest blessing that I ever received on SOAR Radio is when Kenny decided to be the producer and took me off of the board.
That was
hallelujah.
You just don't know.
You just don't know.
I know because you was distracted, aggravated.
I mean, because if something
didn't
went
enjoy
out,
the show.
If something went out or something wasn't working, I really couldn't. My focus couldn't get back into the show because I got to try to figure out what's going on. Why is this thing not working? Sometimes we got knocked off the air. The internet was happening. That's when we was having so much problems with the internet back then too.
Buffering.
I'm like, buffering and going. I'm like, oh my God. But when Kenny took over the show, it really relaxed me and allowed me the opportunity to focus on just speaking, the things that God wanted us to do. Mm-hmm. And we're trying to get back to that because I think in some cases we kind of veered off a little bit because I think our main thing was, always going to be about talking about relationships, marriage relationships, and all types of relationships, not just boyfriend, girlfriend, but, mother, father, sister, brother, friends, relationships, and how strong that those relationships could be.
And that's how those letters came about.
Right, relationship letters, which is, such of a blessing to do that. Hey, we're going to go to some more music. Hopefully Kenny is, I know he might be doing something else. We're going to go to some more music, and then it's Kenny's choice, and then Brenda's going to bring up another topic. And then we're going to talk about, a little bit more about some of the ventures and ideas that we're going to be doing going forward. So listen up to this music, and we'll be right back. All right. So he is listening.
Okay. I wanted to go back to the Larry Hoover thing because that's interesting that Trump has pardoned him. Now, he,
Did you find something?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I did. Hoover was serving 6 life sentences at ADX Florence Prison Facility in Colorado. He was sentenced to 150 to 200 years for 1973. Lord, he been in jail since
1973 murder.
But 1973 murder. However, in 1997, following a 17-year investigation, he was evicted. You was about to say something.
He was evicted?
convicted.
Thank you. He's getting evicted now. I just
getting
want to say the
evicted out
story
there
is
now.
that saying that ABC News Channel 7 is reporting that President Trump has commuted the sentence of Chicago gang founder Larry Hoover of the Gangster Disciples. I'm just kind of curious as to why he's doing that.
Well, check this out.
What?
I don't know how you pronounce this thing. Kanye West and
Yeah.
Drake was advocates for him. Free Larry Hoover doing concerts, and they've been doing events since 2018 to help get him out of prison. So now in May of 2025, President Donald Trump commuted Hoover's life sentence. So he was free today. I'm like, oh,
But again, the thing is why? Why is he doing that for Larry Hoover? I mean, it's not, Trump always has a reason for doing something. Is it to please the people, to please the rappers that did that? It's not just out of the kindness of his heart. I mean, though a 200-year sentence is ridiculous within itself, where you have so many other people who have done more violent crimes who are only serving about maybe 10 to 15 years.
and half of that.
And half of that. And so it's ridiculous when itself. But I guess when I find out a little bit more as to why that they're doing that, we won't be reporting because we won't be talking about that anymore. But
Nope.
what do you get any other
And
stories?
we won't be reporting it.
Right.
The next one, he pardoned reality TV stars Todd and Julie Chrisley. Whew, and that gets me because these people, this couple, was convicted of tax evasion and bank fraud. The daughter says she still don't believe it. This is just not real. Savannah Chrisley reacts to parents being pardoned by Trump. She's been trying to get them pardoned for over a year or two now, and I think they've been in jail since 2017. It finally happened, and it's like, what is he? Is this the time that he doing pardon work? Let me get him out. I'm in my second term in the White House, and I need to fill a quota or something.
I don't know. Usually, most presidents do the pardon at the end of their term. I don't. There's nothing you can say about Trump that makes sense. Even when he talks, he sounds like a third grade child.
But you know what? You just said something that made me think because he get his accolades after that.
Yeah.
This young girl, the daughter, Julie, whatever her name, that was the mama. The daughter said he called her personally, he called her and told her, your parents coming home. I got on pardon. So, because they've been in jail a few years. Okay. Like everybody else who do something wrong, they in jail. But she's making him out of a guy. He's such a great man. I wish people would understand how great he is. Her name's Savannah.
Yeah.
And she said that all she know is she is so thankful for the Trump administration of how they helped her, her family. How now they gonna resume how you gonna get out of jail and resume your reality show?
Yeah.
It's just but Trump loved this.
But here's the thing: he's such a great man for getting people out who are guilty, but yet you detain a young lady in a concentration camp who wasn't guilty, and then you send out a U.S. citizen and make it seem like he's an illegal alien and a part of a gang, and now he can't come back to the United States. What a great man!
He's great.
I mean, this man is. I mean, the Hoover thing is a little bit thrown off because most of the people he's releasing or freeing, are Caucasians. He's fighting for
It's something
the South African white farmers because he's saying they've been mistreated. I mean, it's something that Trump makes no sense in what he's doing, which is scary because it's almost like I'm just going to throw it up on the wall and see if it sticks. So
with the Hoover thing, I'm with you with that one. With this one, the guy is a wealthy real estate developer. Todd Chrisley and his family got money, so I could see him with them. Like, I could use him for something.
Well, because they're going to owe him something for sure. He's going to get some money out of him somehow or another, just like this crypto coins right now, which is so funny because the crypto coins don't have any value unless people buy more. I mean,
Like a pyramid thing?
it's something like that, but they have no value. They have no dollar value. And in a lot of cases, you really can't spend it anywhere. It's just saying that you have it. And, the ultimate goal
That don't
of
make
the
sense.
evil empire is that maybe, Bitcoins will eventually replace the US dollar, which I doubt that will ever happen. Even with, the notorious gangster as the president himself.
Wasn't he trying to get rid of the penny or something before?
Yeah, they're saying it was so funny. They said it cost about 4 cents to make a penny. I'm like,
Almost a nickel.
how is it costing you 4 times as much to make something that's less value? Because copper has went up so much. That's why. So they don't, they don't feel that there's a necessity for the penny anymore. Which, I mean, I don't use pennies that much either. But a penny for your thought. I don't know.
But what about when you buying something? Ma'am, it's 26 cents. Okay,
Well,
you get rid of the penny. How you
Well,
gonna
what
get
they'll
the-
probably do is that you won't be having anything for 26 cents anymore.
No, I mean like it's $7.26.
What I'm saying, they won't have anything at cents anymore. They'll probably round it up. It might be, if instead of being
Everything to a nickel.
yeah, no, what rounding up doesn't mean if it's 6 cents, rounding up is 10. Basic mathematics.
Well, I meant with the penny.
They're not
You
gonna
get
round
rid
it
of the
down,
penny,
but
you just work with
well,
the
yeah,
nickel.
but you can work with the nickel, or you could just, everything is going to be, everything will fall to a point where it's going to cost you, 5 cents, 10 cents, or something like that, and until they decide that the nickel that that you make that out of a thing called nickel. When that becomes, or silver, depending on what they're making it out of,
This
they're,
man, this
and when they
man.
figure that it's costing 7 cents to make a nickel, they're probably going to get rid of that too. But that's the way we go. But the ultimate goal is to get rid of currency, period, and that's why Bitcoin. Now, here's the man who,
wow.
in 2000, I think in 2001 or 2011, one of those times, he said that Bitcoins was a scam. Until he gets into it and can make some money off of it, now it's the greatest thing that in America, because he supposedly has billions of dollars in bitcoins, and his sons also have millions in bitcoins, and so of course they're going to try to find a way to get more money out of that. Hey, this is the Let's Stay Together talk show. Your host, Reverend Rick McCain, along with my baby, my girl, my boo. We're doing our show on a Wednesday today because Kenny went to a baseball game, and we're talking about things. This is going to be the last show that we do on here for Soar Radio. I know you want to say something real quick.
Kathy said the name of the play was Madagascar.
Oh, Madagascar.
That's what we say.
That's what you were trying to say?
Right. I'm mega something. But
Okay.
yeah, that was it. Thank you.
We got about 5 seconds. We're about to ready to go back into our show. All right, everybody, welcome back to Let's Stay Together Talk Show. Your host, Reverend Rick McCain, along with my baby, my girl, my boo. Hey, another thing I want to say is that one of the other things that we're going to be doing also as well is that we're going to start doing a little bit more of a video discussion about plays that we go see.
Yeah.
And
that would be so much
still,
fun, so.
still, doing some writing, but we're going to do some videos about it, and maybe get a clip and and show a little bit about it, and just do like a 15-minute or a 5-minute recap about the the shows that we're watching, because it'll give us an opportunity to kind of talk about it and just be honest, which is a lot of things we try to do. For those of you all don't know what I'm talking about, like, what is he talking about? Or like he said, what you talking about, Willis? We are also, as far as Let's Stay Together Talk, which is our radio show, we have called Let's Play Theatrical Review, where we go to see a lot of plays in the Chicagoland area. Before COVID, we would probably see over 200, but things have kind of spiraled down a little bit now. I don't know if it's just COVID or old age, but
Old age
we're
basically, too.
old age. I still love, doing that, but it just gives us the opportunity because we were going to Wisconsin's and Indiana. We did New York, and I want to go back to New York, but going to Wisconsin and stuff like that. I'm like, most of the people that will hear us talking about plays are not going to travel to Wisconsin. They'll travel to Chicago.
And you will get some who want Broadway, the real Broadway. They think our Broadway is play, but they'll go to New York.
Yeah, they'll go to New York, but they won't go to Wisconsin
or Indiana.
Yeah.
Like,
so, I mean, we kind of tailored that back a little bit. And to be honest, I mean, it's nothing like Chicago. I mean, the surrounding places, great job, but there's nothing like Chicago when plays are in Chicago. And the plethora, I love that's my word again, the plethora of theaters that they have in Chicago. And so, if you've never heard us talking about plays, we do that also on the Let's Stay Together talk show. We're going to be doing a little bit more. We're going to amp it up a little. I got to see how I got to do that too, because I saw somebody had did something. I don't know if I have I'm not as creative. I have a vision, but I don't know how to put things together that well. And so I got to see how that's going to be done. We'll be talking about a show and how I can, put some things together. But we're going to do and not necessarily an in-depth talking about it, but we're going to be a real, like,
a nice snippet.
A snippet about, the play sucked. Just to be honest. And we're going to write some, it's probably was something we would recommend, but you may not really like it because of this. Man, this is amazing. I still have my favorite play, which is Beautiful. That's my number one play of all times. Is Beautiful. I love Sing Beautiful. Michael Jackson, MJ was an excellent play too, and I love Moulin Rouge.
Yeah,
so,
that was real.
So what is that? It's not On the Way Home. What is it called? Kathy may be able to help us with that too.
It's way some far away.
Far away, yeah, far away home.
Yeah, that was okay to me, but I know you enjoyed that.
They did a good job with that.
It was a bunch of plays that moved me, and I can't think of one.
They moved you so much you can't think of them. But we're gonna talk about that and share some things about it because I think a lot of times as theater critics, sometimes people want to sound like they know what they're talking about, and for me, I want the people to know what they should see. Is it something that you want to go see?
Yeah. Okay. So this play is probably still there, or probably I won't go to Bust
Yeah.
at Goodman Theater. It was a good play, but Bust had too much of vulgarity in it for you to really pay attention to the play, and it was a typical word that was being tossed out there so many times that it was disturbing, not only for Black people but Caucasian, Hispanics. It was like, do you have to use it so many times?
Yeah, and you kind of liked it, and I thought that the play was okay, but the cursing or they used the N word a lot, just to be honest, and it just used too many times, and I think it took away from what could have been a much better play, but having that in there, and as a joke or something, and then the white person says N-word, ooh,
right,
everybody's upset about it, and I'm like, and I know, we comics do that all the time. We're going to get off this because I wasn't trying to get into this, but comics do that all the time. Black comics will say that, and people will laugh about it, but I just think it's just disrespectful.
Right, so
and you can never take a negative word that was a stain throughout history and try to revert it into something that's joking or is acceptable now, and then feel that we should say it and they can't. It just doesn't work. We're not gonna stay on this long because we got to get on to that. But we are going to be doing some things that as well. We're gonna put some things together. I got to talk to my good friend who's gonna help me out with this. Kenny, I don't know if I can say your name, but Kenny's gonna help me out with some things.
And he don't say nothing. It's like, let it go.
And it's okay. Just wanted to make sure because Kenny's private sometimes. I don't want nobody knowing me. Because he don't. The one thing I think we got Kenny on our show one time to talk. One time. Dougie Fresh, you're on it. That's it.
That's all you do. That's it.
But we're going to be doing some great, some things with that, and I'm looking forward to it. But let's get back to what new venture, and we talked about this a little bit about trying to reach people where they are, and that's the reason why we're doing this. 2 hours is a long time. I remember when I was a preacher. I'm still a preacher. I remember when I was in class for preaching, and they were teaching preachers that you should have a good 15 to 20-minute sermon, because after that, if you're not an established preacher, a T.D. Jakes, what's that guy's name? Can you think of it? No,
Meeks
please.
was established.
I wouldn't. Okay, I'm not going to say anything. It's T.D. Jakes. I'm trying to think of the guy you just threw me off. I'm trying to think of the person that has an established radio. Now you got me messed up. I can't think of names. Joanne Long, not a Joanne. What's her name? Joanne Long. Oh Lord. I can't think of people's names now. You got me messed up.
Creflo Dollar.
No, I wouldn't put Creflo in there. But money stops me now. But something like that, where people can, because they're established. Chuck Swindoll was an established preacher back in his day. Excellent person who could, expunge the word and break it down so you could really understand it. I learned so much from listening to this man. He was more of a moody Bible person, but how he broke it down to the simple.
If you ugly.
Common denominator. No, you're talking about another man.
Oh.
But things like that, and we want to be able to, do things like that, but to reach people where they are. And right now, our society is quick, fast, in a hurry. Media it moves at a faster pace than light. I mean, people want to see everything. They don't want to miss nothing. They're on their phones more times that they're sleeping. I'm looking at one person that was driving. The girl was driving slow because he's on her phone. I mean, it's dangerous how much people are on their phones, but that's where they are. They're on social media things like TikTok and Instagram and what other things out there. Lemonade. I'm just thinking of a name. I don't know. It'll come up. Oh, Lemonade. That's a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Lemon Drop. Just drop in a line or something like that. Maybe me and Kenny we need to set up a thing called Lemon Drop.
That's
and
cute.
It just drops, something in there, and all of a sudden you say it drops and it'll be a lemon, like doop. Kenny, I'm thinking. Just different things that you can do that is out there. But people in social media, they want to see something real quick, and so we're trying to catch that person. Come back to me, Brenda. Just write down Lemon Drop and stay there. We want to catch them where they are, but 2-hour shows, people are not really spending a lot of time doing the 2-hour shows, and I, we were doing a 1-hour show, but there were so many things we wanted to talk about, and so many guests and stuff we had on the show. It kept you at 2 hours. I was even thinking at one time 1 to 3 hours. But it's hard to do that now on local radio. You might be able to do that because there's a lot of music playing in between it, and so you can talk and play music and talk and play music. And people will, they'll listen to you, talk about something for a good 15 minutes and play some music for a little while. Then 15 minutes, but they may do that, and so we tried to do some of those things. But right now with this fast-paced social media, if you can give them a good 5 minutes, and they stay there, you're doing a good job. And then they will see that and say, "Hey, I like this. It didn't take up a lot of my time, and if it comes again, I'll look at it." Yeah. And that's what we want to get at, that fast pace, speed of sound persons whose attention span is gone as soon as they blink their eye.
And some people just love to hear themselves talk. You listen to some stations and it's like, what are they talking about? And they just going on and on, not even concerned if they're resonating with the audience or if they even have one. And that made me think about a young lady in our very first time station we was at, she was before us. They was just talking and talking. You could be. It's nice to be biblical, but it's nice, that you're reaching people, not just showing your knowledge of what you know about the word. I want to sound so pristine that you're so boring. And that person ahead of us was like that. And it's like, okay, lady, you going into our time. I don't know if you remember when we was in there. She just kept on
Yeah.
talking and talking. And I don't know, it was her and her daughter. But one of the producers says, she got the most boringest show. But she really be trying to pretend like she's this, and that. And it's like, we're not like that. You want fun with it. You want, in that period that we're gonna have, you're gonna hit the points and everything. And you're going to me, it's like I'm so excited about this because I know we could knock it out the ballpark. And that lady came to me, I'm like, I never want to be like that.
I will tell you, I'm not saying we're not like that because somebody might think like you all are boring. I don't know.
Now she was bored.
I know what you're trying to say, but what I'm not necessarily worried about being boring if I'm doing God's will.
Well, maybe she thought that but she was bored.
And I don't know. I mean, I will agree that I remember the show and she sometimes people can get full of themselves and let titles and I'm prophetess this, and I think that's what she had. And
she was.
And I'm like, okay, prophetess. Maybe, did you prophesy that you're past your time?
Right.
Because there was
shortening
a lot
our
of
time.
We had to, kind of remind her that because, she would be ending her show, and you got to be off at a certain period of time, so the next show can come in there. And so, I mean, we were fortunate because there was no show after us for a while. Then there was, and there wasn't, within
but
that
we
6
always
months.
had guests.
We always
So
had
it's
guests.
like,
And we were able to get off, and then what would happen a lot of times is someone would call into the thing, and we would talk to them afterwards. But it was fun like that. But when we talked about this a little bit earlier, it was like the days that they used to have the super jocks, and those things kind of changed when the internet came because now everybody can have a radio, and a radio show, a radio, internet show, talking about things. And there's so much information out there. People want to try to catch everything that they can and trying to get a person's attention span on something you're going to say that's important. And so that's why, for me, it's like, I know I don't have that ability to do that. That's why I go to God and say, God, this is something you want. Give me what works. And that worked for us when we was at Salem Baptist Church as marriage couples because God was saying, be honest. Just be honest with them about marriage. Be honest with them about relationship. Be honest about the trials and tribulations that you go through. Be honest with certain things. And so we decided to be that way. And it made people gravitate to us because we wasn't trying to be like, I'm, Reverend Rick McCain, and this is my esteemed wife, First Lady, Evangelist. I mean, we didn't do that. We were just honest, and we reached people. And even when we went back to, the church recently, I mean, Brenda just had everybody around here. I saw some people was talking to me, but it was just nice for those people to recognize you because they remembered who you were, and it's, we miss you all so much here at the church. And we saw some of the people that we were grooming and showing them the way and seeing how they're doing so well in their relationships and how, I think it's Will and Shanita. LaShawn, I'm sorry.
But that's the best compliment.
And seeing, how their son, who's going to be an Olympic athlete one day, and the two beautiful daughters, and him being a great father figure in front of his daughters so they can see the kind of man, to see that in them it's just such a blessing because you could see that was there. But if they see somebody that's an example of a good marriage, then it helps them to emulate that as well. And that was always a blessing for me.
It was. And just because you brought that up, it was such a blessing to go back to a church where we served for 23 years. And sometimes when you in the thick of things, you think of it like, God, I'm tired of this. Are they getting this? you never know why God put you in certain positions to do what you do. Because, like I said, going back there, all the love that we felt from people, and it was you too. Yours more of the deacons and the ministers. Mine's was, and I met the ministers and the deacons respect me as his wife. The thing of happiness with him was in that. Mine was with the marriage ministry friends that I had there. That when they seen you, they embraced you and just said, "We miss you guys," as though, unfortunately, it was sad, bittersweet, because we know the stuff we did there and our work there, and just to have them just co-sign on, "We love you guys and miss you. We wish you well." And some even told me, "I wish you guys would come back." But the church is so different now.
Yeah, and it's
And we have a church home that we love.
true, and it's not the direction that God wants us to go, and so that's the case. Ken, I'm going to ask you this question. I want you to listen, and we're going to talk about it probably about 10 minutes before the show ends. Have you noticed something? I just want to know, through this whole entire show, have you noticed something? But let me go. I'm going to come back to that. The new direction we're going to do, we're talking about, is that we're going to be talking more about relationships. We kind of got off of that a little bit, and we start talking about different things. I love the fact that we're talking about certain topics that are happening in the world, and we may still do that. We're still going to be doing Zoom meetings where we're going to have guests come on the show, and we're just going to be talking to them and doing a live Zoom on any given day. I don't know when it's going to be. We may do it on a Monday or something like that, whenever someone's available. I don't know how we're going to try to schedule that. I don't know if I want to put in
it all goes by
specific
Kenny, right?
date. I mean, in a Zoom live thing, I may not necessarily need Kenny with that, but it's something I'm going to talk about because that's Kenny's time too. So
right.
So there's some things that that I want to do there. The Let's Play theatrical review. Kenny's what Kenny's going to help a lot out is just helping with understanding the blueprint and how things should be done and what's going to be needed to do cuts and put things together. How professional it's going to look. The background is going to. I want it to look like it's like just a natural look, and so how we can work with that. And it's not like next week we're going to be there. It's gonna take some time to develop. So who knows for the whole I'm pretty much saying for the whole month of June. You may not see us out there,
and that's okay because when we come back, we're coming back strong.
Or we may just drop a video or something like that. If something happens that we want to talk about, I might just do a recording real quick, and we can go from there. But we want to make sure that what we're doing, number one, is in the obedience of what God wants us to do, and some of the stuff is going to be outside of that because the plays is not. I mean, even though we are biblical people there, and people know that we're religious people at the place, it's something we do for enjoyment. And so, some of the things that we're going to do, like some of the Zoom meetings we're going to have, it might just be fun things. I mean, I might have a Zoom meeting where we're talking to Stephen about just the plays. I mean, or just the awards or something like that. That's going to be outside of the umbrella of what we're going to be doing that God is calling us to do. But one of the things I want to do right now, I'm going to have Kenny play a song or something like that. Penny, play about one song, and then we're going to come back because we're going to do one of the relationship letters, and we're going to talk about that and try to do a summation of it in about a 5-minute thing, or we'll probably talk about it and break it up, in certain cases and stuff like that. And we're gonna, kind of do like a little thing of what we're trying to do. Now, this is what I want to do is I want to do just a real life scenario. There's no cuts and tapes and reading from a card or anything like that. It's just going to be from the experience that we've had in relationships. And what God has put into our spirit to say, that's how we're going to be talking about it. So it's going to be live. It's not going to be any rehearsed, word or we're going to see the thing and we're going to talk about it. Oh yeah, because most of the times that's what we do. You know, it's just we talk about it. So we still want people to send letters to us at Let's Stay Together Talk Show at gmail.com, so we can be able to give it to you. It's not going to be like a Dear Abby where it's going to be written down and study and stuff like that. I just, usually allow God to move me and give me words to say from the Spirit to help in the relationship, and that works out great for me because I'm obedient to God's will. But listen up, we're going to have one song we're going to play. We're going to come back, and then we're going to do this relationship letter, and then kind of continue up the ending of the show. Go to music? Okay. I don't know if he knew that. Hey, you got anything you want? One last thing on there?
Another story.
Okay, go ahead real quick.
Evil man. Search continues for ex-police chief who escaped Arkansas prison.
Yeah.
That is wow. Ex-police chief who is in prison, Grant Harden, escaped prison on Sunday pretending to be a corrections officer. Wow. The manhunt continued. He was serving 30 years for rape, murder. The ex-police chief, as officials entered their fourth day of searching for him, they said, babe, he is dangerous. Of course he is. And they say he's a psychopath. Of course he is.
Are you sure you're talking about an escaped prisoner or the president?
Oh.
I'm like, which one is different, the escaped prisoner or the president? I mean, obviously, I did see that story, and they were saying that, the police officers and stuff like that were looking at it against the state prison, state officers, and they were saying that's not a government issued uniform, so I don't know why they didn't realize that wasn't the case. Of course, this is an inside job to help him get out, just like the 10, men who escaped from Louisiana. They caught 8 of them, but 2 of them are still out there. I wonder how long they're going to take to catch this guy. One guy escaped.
And on the 4th day.
He's an escaped officer, right? Mm-hmm. So he law enforcement. So I wonder how fast law enforcement is going to get law enforcement back in. Because they went through all kind of hell to get these 10 that escaped from Louisiana. And so they did everything they could. Caught a couple of them in Texas, Now
you a prisoner already serving time, but you got to hold to a corrections officer uniform for you could escort someone out. This just amazed me how people are so slick. Like you said, got to be an inside job with something.
Yeah, it's probably
out there all willy-nilly, and it's like, y'all ain't found this man yet. Yeah, one man.
Well, I mean, it hasn't been that long, but I want to see what's going to happen. All of a sudden, you'll see it on Dateline. 20 years later, they finally caught the police officer, and he was only 2 blocks away from his house.
Living at 151 20 South Greer Street. Living there all that time. Y'all didn't even check.
That's
what they're gonna do. I'm like, but yeah, this story it sort of tickled me. I was like, okay, the ex-police chief, and of course I have to put myself and think of being ex-police chief. Yeah. He didn't escape. I'm like, Yeah. And the last one is,
I don't know if we're gonna have time. How much time we got, Kenny? 30 seconds. 30 seconds. So hey, those are the stories you won't be hearing anymore. Because we won't be doing that on our new ventures, but we will be. I mean, there's going to be some times. I mean, if there's a P. Diddy story come out, we might jump on this video and just do a talk about it real quick. Mm-hmm. LSTT After Dark. That'll be another thing that we can do again. All right, welcome back. Let's Stay Together Talk Show, SOAR Radio listeners. We were just doing, end of some of the stories that we're not going to be talking about when we do our new venture. But one of the things we are going to be talking about is we're going to be talking about relationship letters. And so what we, one of the plans of it, and it's just a name that I thrown down. I don't know if I'm going to do it. Lemon Drop by Rick and Britta McKay. No, it's going to be
LSTT Drop.
Yeah, it's going to be relationships with Rick and Brenda. And so we're going to be doing that, talking about relationships. And so one of the things is going to be because I thought about relationship letters with Rick and Brenda, but I said, no, relationships with Rick and Brenda. And so we're going to do that. The Let's Stay Together Talk name will not go away. We'll still be doing something with that, but we're transitioning to something a little bit, shorter, because people are going to say, have you saw that show with Rick and Brenda? It's boring.
No, we ain't heard that yet.
We're going to go there. So what's this relationship letter that you have for us that we're going to be talking about today?
Dear LSTT, I think we might have talked about it, but it was a hit letter because we got a lot of feedback on it.
You don't have to say that, but go ahead.
Okay. Dear LSTT,
Jesus.
my fiance's mother seems to loathe me. Let me be clear, I would never come between my fiance and his mother. However, at any given time, she feels the need to talk badly about me to their family members and friends. In front of me, and then the worst part is, he doesn't do anything about it, Rick. He don't even stand up for me. I want to tell him either her or me. LSTT, is this a sign to what's to come in the future?
And so these are one of the things I really love about is that, that was something I definitely didn't want.
I'm losing my patience.
Yeah, I'm losing my patience. I did not want Brenda to say, we may have talked about this before, because most people who have never heard this wouldn't know that. So those are some things we're going to be working with. But this, since you said it, this was a relationship letter that we talked about before, where the young man was not standing up for the young lady when the mother was talking about her, and she felt that he should stand up when things, when she does that, and she had a dilemma about who are you going to pick, me or her. And dissecting it a little bit about this is that I look at it as saying, of course, the conversation is going to be that the young man should stand up for is his wife, right? Is his wife or girlfriend? Fiance. He should stand up for his fiance because it gives her the feeling of security that my man will be there for me in situations where people are doing things, against me. We will be together with it, even if that means that person that is saying something against me is someone that's a part of his family. So, that's going to be what everybody is going to be thinking. Yeah, he should stand up. Yes, he should stand up. And I agree with that, but I want to dissect it a little bit more to say, why isn't the young man comfortable with doing that? What kind of relationship does he have with his mother? Because a lot of times that mother might have been the only person there for him. And so if that person has always been there for him, supporting him, guiding him, helping him, nourishing him, encouraging him, lifting him up, it may be very difficult for him to go against, the person who has been pretty much his, stand by me person. And so it can be kind of conflicting because I know that my mom is saying something that I don't feel that she should be saying, but she has always been there for me. So how do I approach this situation? And so you have to look at it in that way also. It's not just dump pile on the rabbit, is what Bugs Bunny used to say, dump on the individual because they're not standing, but dissect it a little bit more to find out why that individual is not doing that. And I'm going to kind of play this off for you because I don't want to just go into the hit right into it. Yeah, he should do this. But try to understand some of the dynamics as to why this individual feels so hampered and so hindered from speaking to his mother about something that he obviously should feel that is inappropriate to say about someone he's about to marry. Could it be that because of his upbringing, and we do know a lot of mama's boys, because of his upbringing, that he doesn't feel comfortable because this has been the only person who has ever been there for him when he needed the most?
That's a great perspective on this, dive deeper and see why
Yeah.
he's not standing up for his fiance. And when it comes to that, since it is his fiance, they probably need premarital counseling because you chose her to be your wife. She should come first. And granted, if we don't know for sure, because it wasn't written in the letter that he was raised, it could have been raised by both parents, but have a close relationship with his mom, and always his mom was always there for him. It could be the love he had for, always trusted her, don't want to burn bridges, got all of that. But you gotta understand when you step into a union in a marriage that you do have to stand up for your wife, and even if it was reversed, and she was talking, her mother was talking bad about her fiance. It's something you have to understand the dynamics of a marriage and a relationship, which like we said, we're going to go more into depth with these letters. But with this particular letter, of course, obviously, you want to say you need to have a talk with him, and he need to have a talk with his mother, or all three of you guys need to discuss, because things like that could really make the fiance, the wife to feel like, I'm not number one in his life. His mother is number one. And once a woman feel that she don't hold that position, she stepped back, and it's hard for her to get back into that relationship.
So now you went right into the meats and potatoes and kind of skipped over what I was,
I didn't know I did. I was speaking from my heart.
Yeah, because you just went right into it, to the gusto, and there was no dissection on why he's doing it.
Well, you
I will say this. I mean, because then if you end it, then there's nothing to dissect anymore.
Oh, I didn't know we was ending it.
So no, the way you did it ends it. And what I'm saying is, and this is what I said, this girl she never was a good follower.
5 minutes.
Yeah, I know that, but 5 minutes can be 5 minutes of dissecting him first, and then bring the person back to the next segment to find out. Yeah, you are going to drive me crazy because you're not going to follow, and then we're going to say, cut. We'll put this part at the end, and then Kenny, put this part at the end. Put this here, put this there, because Brenda's not following. And so what I'm saying is, I will say this, and correct me if I'm wrong. Most men who have a mother-father relationship, have both parents in there, are not going to be as timid about speaking up for his fiance when there's a strong, dominant male in the household. Because he's learned, the Bible says, train up a child in the way he should go. And so my philosophy is that if you have a strong, dominant male, now, not necessarily, I'm just saying, but most times, because I will even say myself that the most strong, dominant person in my household, even though I had a mother and a father, was my mother. Okay? And she made a comment about you one time, and I stepped in and said, no, you ain't going to do that.
Yeah, you
I didn't have the great example, but I'm just saying that if there's a strong, dominant male there, and he has shown, the respect for his wife, but yet allows him to see that man, has a certain amount of respect in that household, that everybody should listen to it, abide by, as well as the mother equally. But that strong man, that man will gravitate to that and not allow that. Not saying he's going to sit there and say, Mom, what the heck wrong with you? But he will have that say, Mom, that ain't right. You shouldn't say that. Which is something I did with Mama. No, you're not going to say that about, that's going to be my wife. You're not going to say that. And I corrected her. And she got upset, but I still corrected her on that, because this is going to be my wife. But my strong, dominant male was Jesus Christ. And the example that he set for me as a husband to do that. And so if you don't have that strong, dominant male, having that strong relationship with Jesus Christ sets the example for the man on how he should speak in the behalf of his wife. Because the Bible tells that man that he's supposed to love his wife as God loves the church unconditionally, which means that protection is always going to be there. And so I'm looking at it to say, let's dissect it for a second to see if that young man had one or two of those strong, dominant male figures there to provide for him an example, a blueprint of how he should stand up for his wife. Because you can do that in a respectful way, and you still gonna, because I didn't get disrespectful with my mom when I did that. I just let her know that that would not be something that I would accept for the woman who was going to be my wife. Now, my mom helped raise me, was there for me more than my father ever was. But because I had a strong, dominant relationship with Jesus Christ, I knew the position of the man and his protection for his wife. And it stood for both. The man that shall leave his mother and the father and cleave unto his wife, have that strong relationship and bond with her. And so I'm saying that maybe he did not have that. And because he did not have that strong, relationship with a man or with Jesus Christ as the Son of Man, the Son of God, the Son of Man. He was the Son of Man, but Son of God. You didn't have that strong relationship with with any individual that was a male figure, then he may not know how to approach that situation. And in a lot of cases, just let's be honest, with most people, if they don't know how to do something, they just don't do anything.
Yeah.
There's a thing that says ignorance of the law is no excuse. Well, silence is just acceptance. And so in this situation, the young lady was upset about that. And see, what's going to happen is that we're going to break these things down in 5-minute increments, but we're going to talk about it. And there's going to be a pause where we're going to say, okay, pause, and then we'll talk. But he may have not had that. And so now his strong male advice was a woman.
That's a stronghold.
And so now it's like, how do I approach my mother to tell her something that I know that my fiance doesn't like without fearing that it might upset my mother, the person who's always been there for me? Replacement theory now. Because now I got to replace her with her, which my mama may not like anyway. So we don't know that. But now my mama's saying something that shows her displeasure, because your mama's not just gonna. My mother said something and it wasn't out of anger. She just said, something like, that happened. I'm like, no, you ain't gonna do that. You would. I know it was just a little adjusting joke. She didn't call you a negative, but it's just something that I wasn't going to accept. And so, how do you handle that when your mother is showing displeasure for something you love? So what you love is showing displeasure with what you love. And so what do I lose here and gain here? Or what do I gain here and lose there? And how do I handle that situation? And so I'm looking at it as, what can be done for him to help him stand in a position where he should be for his wife? Because obviously the end goal is he should stand up for her. But we have to dissect it and understand what could have happened to him that made him feel that he didn't know how to approach that situation. You understand what I'm saying?
I understand what you're saying.
And go back to Betty Shabazz and just, say what you want to say.
You're going to have problems
Yeah, I know.
if you don't correct it. Like I said, that made me fall more in love with you, to see that you stood up for me.
Yeah.
Because I was shocked to hear that. I'm like, oh, and all this time you thinking that they like me, or the mother, let's go back to the mother likes the individual, her son's fiance. But after all the talking and stuff, you understand that she does not. And then you looking like, he'll never say nothing in my defense. And
I'm going to stop you for a second, because you said something that was very important. You said that made me fall in love with you. More in love with you. Okay. Don't get a frown on your face. I want you to hear something. This is not against you. Don't take it personally. But I would say, why would something like that change your love? Wouldn't you want to?
You don't feel as though
No, no,
your
wait.
fiance is respecting
But
you.
would you not want to, as a person that loves that individual, try more to understand the dilemma that he might be in? Because if your love is there, your love should not be replaced with anger.
I'm gonna put it this way. In this letter, it says,
Yeah.
sincerely, I'm losing my patience.
I understand
So that
that.
makes me think this is not a one-time incident that happened. Two, she was at her last end and said, okay, I done talked to him, family members. Let me just see if somebody else that don't know me, him, who put this in a perspective. I'm not saying that individual didn't, she loved him, but she just wanted to see, like I said, as a woman, we marry for love and protection, love, providing, and protection. And when it seems as though you're not protecting my honor, why am I marrying you?
I don't have any problem with that. But then again, I say,
And she probably
but then
asked that
again,
individual
you
that.
said as a woman, and I'm saying as a person in love or as a child of God. Do we have a limitation on what we can accept? Because I'm about to develop a relationship with this individual. And see, this is what I'm trying to do when you do counseling, is that the worst thing you can do in a relationship is point a finger at something that someone's not doing. Because the Bible tells us that the two are supposed to come as one. So if it's a problem he's having, it's a problem that you're having. And it's a problem that you should work together to see how we can get this done. There's no limit to, he's done this many times. Okay. But the Bible, I think Peter asked Jesus, how many times do we let someone sin against us? 7 times? And Jesus gave him a number to say that there should be no limitations on love or acceptance or understanding. And see, when we dissect that to now two becoming one, I need for you to see his dilemma instead of you just focusing on your dilemma. Your dilemma is he's not standing there for me. And again, I want you all to hear this. I'm not saying he shouldn't have, because the end result is yes, he should. But how do we get to this together? Because this is the beginning of a relationship. She is his fiance. And so how do we work together to resolve this? Because that resolution that we work together with, and then all of a sudden we work together, and he knows because of the work that we put into this, that this is the right thing to do. And it gives him more power because he has someone who is standing with him through his weakness. And so now he's like, hey, man, I didn't stand up for her. I let my mama say all this stuff like that. But she had so much love and compassion for me again and again after I didn't do that she was there for me. And that, man, it developed so much strength for me to know that she was there. And see, that's what I'm looking at, because we can easily point the finger and say, he messed up. He didn't do his job. He should have stand up. He should have did it. Okay, but what do we do from that point on? How do we, because I'm finna get married to this person, how do we handle this? Because if we can handle this, then the next dilemma that comes, we can do together. And it's not saying Brenda's doing something wrong, Rick's doing something wrong. What's wrong that Rick and Brenda can resolve? And so that's why I'm trying to dissect it a little bit more to see what can we do for this young man, or what can we do for this relationship that can help this young man stand stronger, because he knows he has somebody behind him even when he's weak. And how does that translate to a strong, solidified relationship where that foundation is so strong that it can't be broken by outside influences? Because what that basically is an outside influence that is causing havoc with the relationship. And if it can hit against it now before it develops, it's going to break it down later on in life. And that's some cases where people get divorced because they signify or they look at me, what you did to me, and not what happened to us. And so that's what I want to do more when we do the relationship thing. And I want you to be the same. What you're doing is right because you are standing up for what's right. I'm just breaking it down a little bit more so not only that the woman feels strength, but the man can be strengthened from his weakness. And vice versa, because it can happen the other way around. Mm-hmm. And so those are some of the things that we want to do in the relationship letter that we're going to be talking about, is because, I know Brenda. She has a heart. She's going to stand strong. No, you shouldn't. And it's not that what she's saying is wrong, because that's the ultimate goal. Brother, you got to stand up for your woman, because it's going to let her know, have some confidence that she can depend on you.
I want to say this.
What?
Not because of what you did, but like I said, when a woman sees that and know that her fiance, husband, boyfriend don't have her back, not standing up for her, she like a dude. It's deuces. You done lost my heart, and you don't want to lose her heart. That's the thing. You both want to obtain and keep each other's heart. That I could trust you. I believe in you. If something happened, you got my back. But like I say, it could have been vice versa. But this time the letter was the fiance being the female, not having that.
And and like I said, I don't disagree with what you're saying about that at all. But my question would be, can your heart be a little stronger? If you love that person, I mean, we all sin and fall short of the glory. We developed a relationship through our weaknesses, not our strengths.
Yeah.
Our power came from standing there with each other when things were as is worse. Mm-hmm. When I wasn't providing as a husband, when I didn't financially have a job. There were some times that you were going to work and I was at home because I didn't have a job and you had a steady job. Mm-hmm. And, I was doing the cooking. I was doing the cleaning. But, I still wasn't in the position I was supposed to be. And you were frustrated about that at sometimes. But yet you stood with me because of the love that you had. So in the point where I was weak and wasn't able to do what I was supposed to do to make you feel secure, you were still there. Oh, we got 1 minute left on this thing. Mm-hmm. Hey, that's what we're going to be talking about. And so I hope you all, stand with us when we talk about that, because there's going to be some in-depth breaking down things like that. And that's what I love about Brenda, because she's going to bring the nitty gritty. You ain't doing that. And I'm going to try to dissect it and say, hey, this is what we should do for a relationship. Hope you enjoyed that.
Our role. I like that.
Hope you're going to enjoy that, and we hopefully see you all within another month or so as we get things together. So this is Rick McCain along with my baby, my girl, my boo. Hey, don't forget, Let's Stay Together is not gone. It's just going to be recreated, and we'll see you then.
Recreated. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. For those of you on Facebook and YouTube, which I almost forgot for a second there, I'm hoping that's something you want, and we want you all to send in your relationship letters to us. You can still send them to Let's Stay Together Talk Show at gmail.com, and we're going to break these things down to try to help relationships and just be honest and just allow God to move, because I just believe that that's going to be the strength of what's going to keep people there, and we'll be able to provide that information. So get ready for that, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.